And we're live. Finally, after an hour of troubleshooting, we are live on episode 9 of the 808s and Bars podcast. We are here with a special guest, friend of the show, internet friend of the show, Ryan Jones of the Good Takes NBA pod, Travis Scott fan. So we wanted to have him on for the Astro World review. Say hello to the people, Ryan.
What's going on? Pleased to be on. Thank you for having me.
And obviously, we also have Jason here, Jason Buford. He's got his hating face on, ready to go.
Would you expect anything different? Come on.
So, obviously, we are talking about Astro World. We've all been itching for a few days now, really, to get on here. I've listened to the album upward of 10 times. Since it's one of the bigger releases, I wanted to give it a lot of spins, just like we did. I tried with the Drake album, but it was just impossible. That album was just too fucking long to spin like 10 times. I didn't literally have the time, but with this one, it's a little bit shorter. I was able to spin it a few more times. Before we get like totally into it, I wanted to tell you guys like a story about the first time that I ever heard of Travis Scott. Was in 2013 at the BET Awards Cypher. And I remember because in the middle, DJ Premier was like spinning while he was ciphering. And he said a line, he said, "Hold up, Primo, this beat sucks," to DJ Premier. And I was like, who does this guy fucking think he is? And then I realized years later that DJ Premier is his uncle.
Oh, okay. So that at least makes makes a bit more sense.
Travis Scott's uncle?
Yeah, that's why a lot of people thought he was an industry plant.
I thought Mike Dean was like his godfather, kind of.
No, DJ Premier is his uncle. I'm positive. Yep.
He's got it in the bloodstream.
Oh yeah, DJ Premier. Travis Scott's dad taught DJ Premier how to play the drums.
Yep.
So I guess they might not be blood, but they're like
right. It's like your uncle, like a family friend, but still, I mean, that's And then in addition to that, I believe that his dad does work somewhere in the record industry, or at least has like deep connections in the record industry, which is what people believe. Which is why I think a lot of people said that originally. Regardless of how you feel about, his come up and stuff like that, and he might have had, an advantage over some people just because of the people he knew. I think it's safe to say that he has established himself as at least, he's a wildly successful artist, regardless of how you feel about his music. So a little bit of background on him. He was signed to a few different labels. Still currently is. It's kind of confusing. He signed to Grand Hustle Entertainment, which is T.I.'s label. T.I. obviously was the narrator on his first album, Rodeo. Currently, he is signed to Good Music, but he's only signed as a producer. Did you guys even know that?
I did not at all.
Yeah, so he's on Good Music, but only as a producer. So that actually, weirdly enough, that makes more sense to me, just because I think that his work with Kanye over the years, I think that he's definitely he apparently was a part of creating Yeezus with Kanye. Like he has credits on there. He was apparently a background force on that album. So it goes back as far as 2013. He featured in Cruel Summer in 2012. The year before that, in 2013, he debuted with Al Farrow, but really started making waves with his next project, Days Before Rodeo. He's a rapper and a producer, but in his last 3 projects, Rodeo, Birds in the Trap, and then his collaboration album with Quavo, Huncho, Jack Huncho, he has taken a backseat to focus more on rapping. Apparently, him and Mike Dean don't make all of the beats, but they have a lot to do. There's a ton of alteration on the production between those two. Mike Dean has been someone that he's been creating all of his albums with, and he's seen throughout this album as well. He's credited on a ton of stuff. Travis has been a polarizing figure within the hip-hop community, to say the least. He's received mixed reviews from critics, and I think fans of trap music usually don't really like Travis, it seems. I think
there's a lot of people from all over, whatever have you, don't have issues with him. Yeah,
it's weird to me because he seems to have the respect of a lot of people in the music industry. Like, he's really good friends with Quavo and Young Thug, and he's had pretty much, I mean, outside of like Kanye, I can't really think of someone who's had like this many big name features over the course of his first few albums. I mean, his first album, Rodeo, had Quavo, it had Two Chainz, Future, it had Chief Keef, it had Schoolboy Q, I mean, Tora Imoa.
Piss on Your Grave with Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye. His second album had Andre 3000, Cudi. Yeah, I mean, he gets insane features. And why do you guys think that he's so polarizing, like, amongst fans? And like, I know Jason probably would have a better perspective on this because me and Ryan are probably bigger fans of Travis's music. But why do you think he is so polarizing, Jason?
So, like, I think part of the reason why is because people are wondering, why does this rando dude have all these friends? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just came out of nowhere, kind of. So I think that's why you see people are wondering, this doesn't really add up. You know, so, I mean, I get it. I think that he's proven himself, to be honest, to be a figure in hip-hop, and we got to respect it. Have I always liked his music? No. I have always thought that he has the chops that you need to have. No, I don't think so. But it would be just completely dishonest for me to be like, oh, he doesn't belong here. No, like, he's got some joints.
So he has there's legitimacy to his existence.
Yeah.
Is what you're trying to say,
right? Yeah, and I think people are. I think that's the problem. They're wondering whether this is real or not. They think that. Like I said, like you said, industry plant. Like, how is this random dude just all of a suddenly? But I don't think it's like that anymore. I did at one point. I didn't think that now he's given us enough. He's given us enough music where it's just like, okay, this guy's a figure, and we got to respect it. So.
Right. And I know, Ryan, you liked Rodeo and Birds in the Trap, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so a little bit of background. I like both of those projects too. Jason hates Rodeo. He thinks it's actively bad, he told me.
Yeah, it's ass. Like, but Piss on Your Grave is one of the worst songs I've actually ever heard.
I will concede that I don't like, for a fan of Kanye and Travis, I like that song probably less than most would, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair though, Kanye is one of the reasons why I don't like that song. He actually sounds really bad on it. And
yeah, it was apparently a leftover from the Yeezus set.
That makes sense. Sounds like a throwaway song. It sounds like some clown shit that Kanye was doing. So yeah.
Piss on Your Date. Yeah, it's a very weird song. It also doesn't fit on that album at all.
Antidote's a hit. I mean, like I said, he's got some joints. Antidote. I mean, I saw Travis at Gov Ball. The shit bangs. Like, I can't even.
What do you think about? I know this is my favorite song by him. Is "Oh My This Side," the one with Quavo off his first album. You think that's
that one? Yeah, I like that one.
Okay,
that's like one of the 3 good songs on Rodeo.
All right, fair enough. That's your opinion. Obviously, you're wrong, but it's okay.
Hey, at least people aren't listening to this podcast for groupthink. You know, we can have some disagreements.
Yeah, diversity of thought, the marketplace of ideas. So I want Ryan up front to give his take on Astro World. Did it live up to the hype? Do you like it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? And since you are the guest, we'll have you go first, and then we'll have Jason, and then we'll have me.
Yeah, so I definitely liked it. I liked it a lot. And it's interesting that you said, like, did it live up to the hype? Because not only has he been teasing it for years, basically, like even before Birds, he's been teasing this album. But within the past month and a half, 2 months-ish, I guess you could say, it seems like everyone in the industry has been, like, talking about it. It's been kind of like the big thing, I guess. And, going the past week, like, even more so, or not the past week, but the week before, it really, like, it seemed like everyone was talking about it. Like, everything else kind of just stopped, like, for Astro World.
Definitely.
I really liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There is some signature, like, Travis sounds to it, but I also think that this album definitely more so than, and don't get me wrong, like I loved Birds, but I think that this album showed a lot of growth as an artist. There's some sounds in here which you just like wouldn't, he just like wouldn't make on his previous two, you know, studio release albums with Birds and Rodeo. I think that he's like not matured. That may not be the right word, but as I said, like there's just some sounds that
general.
yeah, exactly. But there's some sounds like, you know, you look at a song, you know, I know we're gonna go like, you know, not necessarily track by track, but we'll dive into it more in a bit. But you know, you look at a song like Coffee Bean, like that sound is just not, or you know, another song like 5% Tint. Like I feel like those types of sounds that he's, you know, cultivating are just kind of unique to what we've heard from him in the past. And I thought it was really good, and I enjoyed like the levels of growth and, you know, just different stuff that he threw at us, I guess would be the way I would put it.
It's interesting you chose those two songs, because I would say those two songs are probably, I would say they're the most old school like hip hop that we've heard from Travis. Like the majority of Travis's stuff has been like contemporary trap mixed with, you know, he mixes in some like psychedelic stuff and some drug stuff like that. You hear that all over this album. But those, especially Coffee Bean, like that sounded like an old school like 90s beat to me a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I was really happy with it. And like you had kind of talked about earlier, just I mean the feature list, like that is a star-studded feature list there, and it's hard to, like, you know, I know I really enjoyed the album, so maybe I'm not the person to say this, but like if this album didn't deliver in the way that I think it did with all of the people who were on it, you know, Frank, Drake, 21, like all the, you know, James Blake, Tame Impala,
yeah,
Cudi, like The Weeknd. If it didn't deliver with that, then I think that he would have become like almost a meme, if you will,
a clown.
Yeah,
yeah, he would have been Cannabis if the majority of people, yeah, if the majority of people didn't like this, he would have.
The other day on Twitter, I called Cannabis the 90s version of Hobson. I think that's a pretty accurate description of
It is an accurate. It is a really good description, to be honest.
All right, so Ryan gives his first thoughts. Jason, what did you think about the album? What did you like? What did you not like?
I can't stop the feeling of thinking this. This is cool. I wish someone else was on it. I don't know. Like, I can't stop thinking that. Drake sounds great on Sicko Mode, though. I got to tell you, he sounds so much better than he ever sounded on Scorpion.
Which is weird.
Yeah, like I'm wondering, like I'm just wondering why and where. Like, I mean, he sounds great on that. I was just thinking, like, damn, okay, Drake. Like, I was feeling it. I mean, I get the 5% Tint song. It's a great sample, but like, I would just prefer to listen to Cell Therapy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that sounds like me hating, but like, yeah, it's just real. Yeah, I mean, R.I.P. Screw's good. Carousel's good.
You like the Frank song?
Yes, I do like the Frank song. You know I like when Frank raps. I don't like when Frank sings, but when Frank can rap, though. I mean, I wish he'd rap more. I like when Frank raps.
He sings a little bit. He does a rap sing, I guess.
Yeah, rap sing is kind of how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does do a rap, kind of like a rap sing. But like, no, I do like the Frank track. Yo's Might's hot, and I mean Butterfly Effect. I heard on. I actually heard that song before I knew Travis did it. And then
that was like a year. That came out over a year ago.
Yeah, when I first heard that over a year ago, like I didn't know that was Travis until like a couple weeks ago. People were like, "Yo, you know this is Travis Scott. I mean, you're bumping this, right?" And I was like,
"Oh,
I'm not sticking to my brand here."
And, Houston Fornication is hot too. So yeah, I just can't stop thinking that this is just as hollow as something else he's done before. The beats are a little more realized. The guest features are probably the best guest features they've been. It's probably the best time. It's the best guest features we've had on the Travis album. But I don't think that this is a marked difference than anything else he's been doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
It's better than Birds because it's more thematic than Birds a little bit, and it's much better than Rodeo. I think that it's a little better than Days Before Rodeo, but I like Days Before Rodeo.
That's interesting. We've talked about this before with this album. Like a lot of people seem to like some of Travis's pre-album stuff more than his album stuff.
Al Faro, by the way, is solid too.
I actually think that Al Faro, the only reason I don't like Al Faro is because I mean it sounds like a Kid Cudi album. And I love Kid Cudi, but the problem is it's Travis Scott doing a Kid Cudi impersonation of pretty much the whole album.
Still doing Kid Cudi impersonations.
But I don't really hear Kid Cudi anymore. I definitely hear some other artists in his sound. I think the last time I really heard him doing like Cudi impersonations was probably on Rodeo. Okay, All Right. I remember there's one part where he literally sounds exactly like Kid Cudi. I'm sure he's paying homage, but I think that on this album, I'm getting that a little bit less. Going back to what you said about sampling Cell Therapy, I think one of the problems and I think anyone should be able to sample anything they want. I don't think that we should restrict.
Yeah. I'm not that type of guy. Like, you can't do this. Like, do whatever you want. Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're sampling a classic hip hop song, there's going to be a certain level of expectation. And if you're not creating something entirely new, then what is the purpose of sampling it? That's kind of how I look at it. That song specifically, I actually was like reading up on it because there was a lot of stuff on here I just didn't even realize. Apparently, he sampled the DJ Screw remix of Cell Therapy, which was a Lil Kiki freestyle called Peepin' in My Window. Apparently, it's like really obscure. And also, in addition to that, he's referencing the Slim Thug line, 5% tint, so you can't see in my window from Still Tippin' by Mike Jones. So like
I did not pick up on that until you just said that right now.
I didn't pick up on it until I literally was just reading on Genius about it. And the album's like Houston as hell. It's definitely his most, obviously his most Houston album. It's called Astro World. It's after.
I gotta give him credit for that. He definitely does rep the sound of his city. I think he tries to incorporate that in his music. I do appreciate that.
And also in the post regional era, it's pretty rare that you even see that at all anymore. Like, unless there are guys there are New York guys who literally are just pretty much just rehashing the same old stuff that we heard in the 90s, like a Joey Badass. But overall, it's pretty rare. There are some artists. YG is obviously an artist that represents his area that he grew up in with the G-Funk sound. But I thought it was really cool, actually, how we mix all that in here. Now, I think I definitely like this album a little bit more than Jason. Probably a lot more than Jason.
Yeah, a lot
more. I'm a Travis Scott fan, and I think one of the reasons why I really like Travis Scott is because I've said this on the podcast before. I'm a huge electronic music fan, and to me, Travis Scott is sort of like a hip-hop DJ a little bit. Like, I think he grabs and pulls from all these different sounds that are happening, that are contemporary artists, and then he kind of creates his own sound from there. Now, there are times where, I know, Jason, you said that you thought that he sounded like Kanye on Skeletons, right?
He sounds just like Kanye on Skeletons. It's basically just an impersonation of a Kanye West verse up into the sexual appetite rhymes, the whole we just had some good sex. It's the same shit. It's the same.
My theory on that is that I have a theory that I think that Sci-Hi to Prince ghost wrote a lot of these songs, or at least wrote with him.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
Because he has album credits all over. There are a few songs. He had additional production on 5% Tint. I saw that he was listed in the album credits. Other than that song, he doesn't have a ton. But the reason I say that is because I think this is a very late Kanye sounding verse. I would say past 3 or 4 albums Kanye, as opposed to
it is Kanye from Yeezus on.
Right. Yeah.
The Kanye sexual appetite, the really bad sex raps that Kanye does now, he's always had a little bit of it, but it really started with Yeezus when he started saying shit like ass and eating ass and blah 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 blah, all that shit on I'm in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is why I wonder how much influence did Sci-Hi to Prince have on that album? How much influence did Travis Scott have on that album? Because
they're taking direction from Kanye, to be fair though. Sci-Hi's not just giving him
No, I'm not. No, he said he does writing sessions, which is I think something that I know he's done them with Pusha T. I know he's done them with Travis. I know that he's done them with Cudi. Where you're getting to the point, and this is something that I brought up on the Kids See Ghost podcast too, is that it's hard to figure out who's pulling from who, right? Like, right. Is Kanye pulling from Travis Scott, or is Travis Scott pulling from Kanye? A lot of people, and I don't necessarily agree with this because I think this line is overly Kanye, and that verse in general is overly Kanye. But a lot of people say that going back to 2012, Kanye has been doing a Travis Scott impersonation, and it's not the other way around. I guess you would disagree with that.
Ryan, what you think?
I think that's it's kind of tough because, like, I understand the mindset, but then at the same time, I feel like if you're like, it's hard for me to say that because he's Kanye. If that, like, as silly as that may sound, if that, like, makes sense, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to.
It's hard for me to imagine that too. It's hard for me to imagine that Travis has the chops for that.
But to me, the one thing that Travis does, and he does it really well throughout this album, is that he curates well. He grabs sounds from different eras, different genres, and he pulls them all together to create, a different piece of art. And I think that he's done this production-wise throughout his whole career, even if he isn't producing all the beats. And going back to what I was saying before, like, the intro on Kids See Ghosts, like, that's a Travis Scott ripoff. With that part where he's doing the auto-tune vocals at the end. Like that. I thought it was Travis Scott, and it wasn't. Like, so to say that Travis is pulling from Kanye all the time when Kanye has pulled from Travis in the past, or Cudi, or whomever made that creative decision on that project, I think is a little bit unfair to Travis. I think that what he does really well on this album is it's definitely different than Rodeo and Birds in the Trap, in that I was saying earlier, like, Rodeo and Birds in the Trap, their transitions were, like, sewed together, like, really, like, tightly. Like, Oh My This Side is a perfect example of, like, where he just lets, like, the first beat fall asleep kind of, and then he brings it back to life on the second half, and they're, like, perfectly sewed together. Whereas here you're getting cut. It's like a hip-hop DJ, right? Like, you're just going from one sound to the next, and you're bouncing all the way. It's almost, the intro kind of reminds me, Stargazing, which I did think was a pretty good intro. It reminds me of a roller coaster. I mean, you could even hear the roller coaster sounds in the background. It just kind of drops at that second half, and then he starts going in. I really think that what Travis does well is that he creates these vibes, these atmospheres for his albums. On Rodeo, it was a little bit more like dark, muddled, psychedelic whirlwind that always kind of kept you guessing what was coming next. Birds in the Trap was a little bit more standard structure. It was like a cool party rap album that had, like, a little bit more experimental production than your average party rap album. And then this album just feels like it lives somewhere between the two to me, if that makes any sense. Like, you could throw this on at a party, or you could fucking, sit down and actually analyze, like, the sounds and, like, understand what he's going for.
Yeah, it's definitely his most well talked about album. Meaning, like, you can definitely sit down and be like, oh, let's talk about this Travis album. Where are the intricate parts of it at all and stuff like that. I do think that he's good, or he wants to be good at creating sounds and stuff like that. But there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of the shit he does. So, like, he'll get all these guys, like Kevin Parker, he's got some Stevie Wonder, blah, 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 Quavo, Drake, this and that. And it feels just like I'm being tricked. Like, I'm being tricked into liking this because of all these names and all, like, different sounds and shit like that. But there's no, like, togetherness about it. It's just a lot of, like, showy shit. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so I
get what you're trying to say. I think, like, he overproduces.
A little bit, yeah. But, like, I don't even want to say overproduces because, like, that kind of entails that he's thinking, like, really hard. I don't think he actually is doing that at all. I think it's kind of just like, we're going to put this here, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and then this just going to go. And it's just like, I kind of need more than that, though. You know what I mean?
So, what did you guys think of the song? Because I think the Tame Impala song is obviously me and Ryan are going to be heavily biased on this because we're
no. I like Tame though. You guys know I like Tame.
Yeah,
no, I know you
absolutely.
do. I know you do. But like, we stand hard for Tame.
Yeah.
And
I
by
played
the way,
like 4 songs from Currents while I was like listening to music at work today, just for like just to put it out there like that. Yeah,
just to
like,
get in that headspace, like. And this sounds a little bit like a perfect blend of Lonerism and Currents to me. It sounds more Lonerism than Currents because it's like that trippy 60s kind of like you get lost in the sounds of everything that's going on. He's adding The Weeknd and Pharrell. They kind of float on the vocals. I love this song. I know a lot of people said they didn't like it. Jason, did you not like it at all?
I mean, I just felt that he was biting off a Kanye on the verse. I think the song bangs. When I was listening to it, I was just like, this is obviously similar to, are you guys not hearing this? Like I was looking at the TL and no one said it. And I was like, you guys, are people not hearing that this sounds just like he's doing the same shit he's always been doing? So I was just like, kind of like,
that song definitely was the closest in terms of absolutely like pulling from another artist.
Weeknd, I'm not gonna lie though, Weeknd sounds great on this album.
Dude, what the hell? I fucking hate The Weeknd, and I thought that he sounded actually pretty decent on this.
I didn't know that. I was unaware of that. That's interesting. I
think The Weeknd is fucking. Can I tell you why? I think The Weeknd is. All right, his last album, Starboy, was he had the EP this year, which just sounded like his old shit. But his album before that, Starboy, that shit, I fucking hate that album. I am such a big electronic music fan, and I think that he has inarguably some of the worst taste in electronic music that I've ever heard. Like
Starboy's bad, yeah. Starboy's not good.
He doesn't work over electronic production. And actually, Travis featured him on his first 2 albums over electronic production, and I hate those songs. I hate Wonderful and I hate Pray for Love.
Do you not like Beauty Behind the Madness though? Because I think
I like some songs on there, but
I think that album is good. Like it's perfectly good. Like
yeah, but he's also not going over like pure electronic production as much. There's definitely some electronic influence, but like he's not going over like EDM beats. You know what I mean? Like he is on Starboy, and I just think that style doesn't work at all for him. On here, I think it works a lot more for him because he's going for that. He's actually pretty has kind of a trippy voice, and it works really well blending it in. And another thing that Travis does on this album, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but he'll like introduce someone in the background on a song, and then the next song that person's like fully featured on it.
Yeah, he did that with Sicko Mode and R.I.P. Screw.
Yep, with Sway
Lee.
Yeah, and then he did it again with The Weeknd, and then you get into the next song, Wake Up, and The Weeknd's fully featured on that, which is I thought was like a cool way of like introducing them to the audience, and then just going like being like, okay, here they are. Like I thought that was super cool. If it was intentional,
yeah, he's getting there. It's like when we talked about Kendrick last week, and we were like overly dedicated. I'm now starting to see a little bit what you guys are talking about. I will say, but I'm not quite there yet.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying.
And Gunna sounds great on Yosemite, by the way. I mean, Gunna.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of actually my biggest problem with this album is the fact that he was featuring people who are just complete ripoffs of other artists. Like,
well, I mean,
I thought that was Thug for the first.
That was Thug, yeah.
For the first 7 or 8 spins. I mean,
I hate the fact that Nav is on it, even if it's just an outro. Like, I hate Nav.
And he recorded it with what sounds like a fucking tin can.
Yeah.
It was like that Kodak. It was like that Kodak Black. It was like the Kodak Black feature on Testing. It sounded like some jail shit.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I didn't understand the purpose of that edition. It was like he promised Navi could be on the album.
Yeah, I mean, Nav's fucking terrible though. Like, he's honestly like, I hate that dude. I just think he sucks. Like, it's just, I get nothing from that guy. Like when he was on it, I was like, why?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I don't see why he needs to exist as an artist. Like he does absolutely.
Yeah, he's not good. He can't really flow particularly well. I mean, Toronto guys on Twitter will be like, Nav is nice, and I'm like, I don't understand what you guys are hearing, but I mean, more power to you, I guess. Like, enjoy what you want.
It reminds me of you know, those memes that are like, who does this person make music for? And then someone did one with Nav, and they just said he makes music for Drake.
Yeah.
Literally the only person apparently who's ever liked him. I don't know if you like Nav, Ryan. I'm sure you don't because you have good taste. But
I would say that I don't dislike him to the I don't have the fervor of hatred that you two apparently do. But I'm not I wouldn't say like I'm a fan of his now.
Yeah, there, and then another guy on here is Juice WRLD, who I had never heard before this album. I thought it was Post Malone the first like 6 or 7 times I spun the album. I
thought that Travis and Post. I heard that Travis and Post were thinking about collaborating. Is that true?
I thought that was Mac Miller and him.
Sorry. Okay, does that Mac? Okay. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. No, they're going to come out with a collab album, but the intro to No Bystanders, and it's featured later. I thought that was Post Malone, and there are a lot of guys on here. Funny enough, who just sound like, you know, watered down versions of other artists. No disrespect to Gunna, like I think he's talented, but to me, it's just like Designer to Future. Like he just sounds like a thug runoff.
I think Gunna's a little better.
I agree with Jason on this.
I thought Gunna sounded good. I thought that was hot.
Oh I thought it was good on here. I was confused.
Yeah, no, that's definitely reasonable, and I mean, it begs the question, like with this, you know. Like we were talking about this all-star feature list, how does Thug not get on here? Which is a good question, especially because it seems like Travis and Thug are like best friends. Like
yeah,
it seems,
I don't get it.
What I mean? But I thought Gunna absolutely just like floated on that song. That song is incredible in my opinion. I really, really enjoyed that song.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually think Yosemite is one of the better songs on the album. But I mean, I like the vibe of the whole song. I just think it's more laid back, it's a little bit more calm. My take on that song, I think that there are a lot of themes throughout this album that he's covering, and it's like there's definitely a psychedelic. Obviously, on the first song, he says psychedelics got me going crazy.
Same.
What's that?
I said same.
Yeah, I'm sure this album would be a little bit better with some, you know, if we took some tabs of Redacted. But, but I will say that to me, that this song represented kind of like the come down, like the beginning of the come down of the album. Like whether it's from psychedelics or it's from like the sun setting on the day at Astro World, or it's like kind of like him closing this chapter on his youth. Which kind of, you know, goes back to the whole amusement park theme. I thought that this one had a really nice, like, just like kind of a homey vibe. Certain songs just have like a home vibe to them. This song reminds me of that. Like, I really dug that one. I really liked, like, even the songs I didn't like on the album, like, I thought they had salvageable parts. Like,
yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I think what, Jason, you were saying, you didn't like Travis rapping on, like, Skeletons, but to me, I thought that...
I mean, I don't like his vocals in general. I think that I wish... We were talking about this earlier, that people shouldn't compare him to Khaled, and I agree with that. He's much more Dr. Dre than Khaled, but, I mean, I kind of wish that he would, like, even take a step back even more and just let his people, you know what I mean? Like, let the guest features go.
So you're saying you wish that he would like curate and produce more than he would actually rap?
Similar to Drake, like More Life is one of my favorite Drake albums, and it's because I think Drake takes a back seat on purpose. And I think that a back seat would be like, especially on the stuff that he has on Astro World, I mean, the back seat would have made the album way better.
Okay, I think that where I would say, I definitely think I usually do think that the worst part of Travis's albums are his rapping. I'm not going to lie.
The disconnect between me and a lot of other people right now is that they think that Travis has improved as an artist with his own vocals on this album, and I just don't think so. I think it's just the same.
Like rapping or singing or both?
Like his vocals in general have been like improved, and his artistry has improved, and I don't really feel that way.
What about Sicko Mode? What about his verse on there?
I mean, I think Drake kills him.
Everyone keeps saying that, and
Drake's verse on that is really good.
I'm not saying that Drake's verse isn't good. I think that some of his lines are laughable. I mean, he's literally, and don't get me wrong, that Out Like a Light shit is catchy as fuck. but like, dude, he's bragging about taking half a Xan before he goes on a fucking plane. Like, that is so lame. Dude, if any other rapper did that, we would be clowning them.
But like, it's 8 years in though with Drake. Like, you can't even like, not even 8, like 10. Like, you can't even. He's gonna have some goofy lines. Like, he's got on Lord knows he's got the whole like her purse is right there, blah blah blah. Like, it's like, who does that? But
yeah,
like,
I rank that up there with some of Drake's corniest things.
Oh, I think that is the corniest.
Yeah. Channing Tatum.
Yeah, Channing Tatum.
Channing
That one, yeah, so many chains they call me Channing Tatum. And then obviously the one that we've talked about before, you know, I love thick women because my aunt, she rode equestrian.
That line confuses me because I don't know what he's trying to say.
It sounds like he wants to fuck his aunt and
That's
also a horse.
And also a horse.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm so confused about that line.
I don't know, man.
You gotta explain that one. No funny shit.
No, how has no journalist ever held him like accountable for that line?
No, he might have to explain that one, bro.
8 years later, Drake, what the fuck were you talking about, dude? But you know, what did you think of that one, Ryan? Did you think that Drake bested him on there, or do you think Travis got the better of Drake?
I do think that Drake had a better verse than him, but I don't think it was. I feel like the consensus is that like Drake like backpacked him, and I don't feel that way at all. I think that this like I thought that Travis was really good. Like, you know, I was a big fan of that verse for sure.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of going in on that one. I mean, I actually really enjoyed that, and I love the way that they would add in when he would make the references, like the "Give Me the Loot" part and the
4 a.m. and stuff.
Yeah, Uncle Luke when he's talking about "Don't stop." Yeah, I mean, like, to me, that shit is why I really enjoy. And it goes back to what I was talking about with Travis kind of being a hip hop DJ. The cuts on here are really abrupt, right? Like this song has 4 parts to it, and they're all completely different.
It literally sounds like 4 different songs.
But
Like,
they're just back to back to back to back, and it works.
This is was this Tay Keith?
This was Tay Keith and Hit Boy. Tay Keith, Hit Boy, Ozzy, and Cube Beats.
Okay,
so it's 4 different beats that he strung together over the course. Tay Keith does the 3rd part. I believe Hit Boy does the part that Travis is wrapping up. By the way, I'm glad to see Hit Boy is back because like that dude, where
Hit
the fuck?
Boy also did Carousel too.
Yeah, and where did he go, Hit Boy? Like Travis brought him back for this album, but like we haven't really heard a lot of him over the past few years.
Hit Boy's got some of my favorite beats too of this decade, like Goldie and like the Backseat Freestyle beat. Like Hit Boy, I've always been like I fuck with Hit Boy.
And this one sounds to me very much like his old shit, like Backseat Freestyle, fucking like, yeah, I fuck with this beat heavy. I really like that song. Like I think that's the obvious one, right? I know that a lot of people were saying it's the best song on the album. I don't know if I would say it's the best song on the album. It's definitely the one that I've been.
Yours Might. Yeah, I think the best song is Yours Might, but Sicko Mode is good too. Yeah.
What did you? I know Jason didn't. Oh, what were you saying, Ryan? Sorry about that.
No, go on. Go ahead.
What did you guys think of "Stop Trying to Be a God"? Or "Stop Trying to Be God"? Because I know I think Jason didn't like that one as much. Ryan, I heard that you did like that one.
I did like it, but it probably doesn't crack my top like 4 or 5, which I feel like might be. I feel like that's other than Sicko Mode, anything with Drake, just because Drake is. So big. He's like bigger. You know what I mean?
And he actually
that song. Yeah, for sure. That song I feel like has been getting maybe not like the second most like buzz, but definitely up there. And it probably doesn't. Crack my like top 4 or 5. I really liked. Obviously, Sicko Mode is great. I really like Stargazing. I really like R.I.P. Screw because I will like support anything that Sway Lee does, and I will continue to like ride to drive the bandwagon of like Ray Shrem and Sway Lee.
He's like your child prince. You'll protect him at all costs.
Exactly. And then like I was saying earlier, like Coffee Bean, like I feel like that song is like kind of. Maybe it's because it's 17 tracks on the album. People, you listen to 8 or 9 or 10 songs and you just kind of like throw on whatever you want, whatever. But I feel like that song is really good and hasn't gotten the love it deserves.
The attention, yeah. To me, that song's like kind of like after all the madness of the album is over, like waking up the next morning and like realizing like your life is in shambles.
Yeah, that's honestly a very solid way of describing it.
And like you're going to the Coffee Bean being like, you know, like you just gotta get your shit back together. He's being more introspective. He's being a little bit more personal. I've never really heard that from him ever.
Yeah, it was a good change of pace to see, but it was kind of just like for me, damn, it's introspective, but I kind of don't really want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's just like
that's reasonable.
He's just not a very good. He's just not for me. He's just not a very good rapper. Like I just that song by Future is like that would be like a great Future song. That song by Travis is just a song by Travis. You know what I mean? I don't, and like stop trying to be a god. It's really interesting. It has a lot of sounds. It's got the harmonica. James Blake's on it. But once again, it feels like kind of like a trickery song in which he's just giving us all these features and he's giving us all these moments, but they're not like connecting together. It's like, I don't know how into movies you guys are, but like, so like Chris Nolan will have, I think Nolan's best movies are his most simple movies. So like you got Inception, you got like The Dark Knight, and you got like Memento. And then I think Dunkirk too. And then, but like I think he gets like overboard when he tries to do all this different shit. So you got like the Dark Knight trilogy doesn't really hold up the third one. Dark Knight Rises doesn't really hold up that well. I don't like Interstellar because there's just so much shit happening. And I think Travis is similar in that I wish he just like kind of relax with that type of like drastic changes in the music and like keep it a little bit more simple. And I just don't see, but I think he fancies himself to be type of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think he wanted Astroworld to be similar to that.
Yeah, he
or The Chronic or whatever. I mean, similar to like a party album with a lot of guests on it and with a lot of different moments, a lot of diverse sounds. But like, I just didn't think it hit.
So I definitely understand what you're saying. I think that's what makes Travis stand out to me. Like that's like a lot of the times I think that you know, that's kind of become his signature over the course of his career. Like he's always you never know what you're going to get next. It's especially on the first listen, it's kind of like it takes you back a little bit because he never lists his features. He doesn't, you know, he always will hit you with these beat switches, like kind of, and this album especially out of nowhere, where he's just maneuvering and shifting in between. And I actually do like Stop Trying to Be God. I'm not in love with the James Blake outro. I like James Blake, but I don't really love him on this. I love whenever Cudi just hums on a song. Like if Cudi could just hum on every song, I would be down with that. I think that's like his greatest, you know, achievement in his greatest addition to music has been just his humming. And then the Stevie Wonder harmonica thing was cool, but like it's a weird creative decision to have Stevie Wonder on your album and just have him play harmonica.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool, but it's not exactly effective. It's not exactly helps with the album. It's just like a moment. It's just like I have Stevie Wonder on this. Check me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's just there to like to be there, basically.
Yeah.
Similar about the Kid Cudi humming. He also like pays like homage to that to him on. We were talking earlier about like, you know, what some people call it biting. Others would say, you know, paying homage. He definitely on Yosemite. He definitely where, you know, I feel like I'm chosen. I'm covered in gold.
Oh yeah,
That's
a Cudi. Yeah, for sure.
That definitely is a like has the Cudi vibe to it for sure.
So I'm gonna ask you guys this: where's the line? You think? So like that could be considered paying homage, but it also could be considered biting in a way. So what's the line? And do you think Travis has always told the line well, or do you think that he's always crossed the line?
I'll put it like this. I think that I actually think this is a Kanye tactic because, and he might be jacking that tactic from Kanye, but I remember I'm a huge Kanye fan, but Kanye has never lied about the fact that he will listen to music and he'll try to create landscapes for his songs based on things that, like, for example, he said that Love Lockdown, he said he wanted to make a song that sounded like Tom York from Radiohead in a strip club. Like he was like, and he made Love Lockdown, and like every time you listen to that song, even if you don't agree with what that, the outcome of it was, that will always stick with you. To me, Travis is kind of similar. I think what he does it a little bit. He's a little bit more egregious. Like, I mean, Al Faro, as I mentioned, he's really bad with it. Parts of Days Before Rodeo. By the time you get to Rodeo, I think he starts to distance himself a little bit. Like, and on this album, like, I hate to keep bringing up Skeletons because I want to talk about other songs too. But like, when you said the Kanye thing, it was like Tame Impala has collaborated with two of my favorite rappers of all time, Kendrick Lamar and Kanye West, and they made fucking bad songs. Like, they're not good songs objectively. Like, listen to the Kendrick Lamar Tame Impala song. It's inarguably the worst song from both artists. It's called Backwards. It's fucking terrible. And Violent Nights or Violent Crimes on the Kanye album was Tame Impala too. To me, like, Travis just has a different approach. Like, to me, that's like, he wanted to be like, what if Kanye made a song with Tame Impala? Not knowing that Kanye already had made a song or was in the process of making shit with Tame Impala, I'm sure. But to me, it's like he toes that line well on this album, probably better than he has in the past. I know that there have been moments on albums where people like say like they think that fucking Antidote is just like a straight up ripoff of Sway Lee. Like, I've heard people say that before.
I mean, when that song came out, I was like, this bangs, but this sounds, I mean, like someone else.
Yeah, and I've heard that too. On this album, like, he'll give you moments of it. Like, I think a perfect example is like what Ryan just said about he hums on Yosemite, but he never like indulges in it in the way that he used to, where it's like he'll do a whole verse or a whole song that sounds similar to another artist. I think that he's getting better with it. I think that it probably will always be a downfall to critics of his music, but I think as a fan of his music, like, to me, it's just his own take. It's like a collage of sounds. It kind of goes back to what, like, I'm a huge fan of electronic music. Like, it's literally just pulling from different genres and sampling different things and piecing it all together and making something new out of it. Like, he's definitely influenced by these guys, but it's not like he's not recognizing the fact that they exist. He's putting them on his albums. Like, he put Cudi on his album. He put Thug on his album. He put Future on his album. He put Sway Lee on his album. Like, even if he is biting from these guys, at least he's using his platform to then further their career, as opposed to other guys who are just egregiously biting it and not giving any credit.
And I will say that these aren't like broke artists.
Yeah.
No, but like a perfect example of that is like Drake when he stole Hotline Bling from Dram. Like, I mean, like, Dram himself, I don't hear it as much as other people hear it. I definitely hear it a little bit, the cha-cha rip on that song. But like, and like Childish Gambino with This Is America, like, they're stealing it from artists. At the time, no one knew who Dram was. Like, Cha-Cha was his first big song. And like, Drake completely distanced himself from the whole thing. Childish Gambino did the same thing with This Is America, and that underground artist who clearly he at least had some influence over it. Like, I think what
I mean, and Gambino's
my bad, Jason. My bad.
Go ahead.
Gambino's quote was like, it's like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know, obviously don't know like verbatim what he said, but he basically was just like brushed it off and was like, I mean, like, fuck that guy. That's basically like what it sounded like. You know what I mean?
I'm sure he did that because like that sounds, from everything I hear, like that sounds similar to like him. You know what I mean? I mean, his manager went at Big Business on Twitter.
Yeah, I remember that
his
whole
manager
thing.
Dude, and like people were, and I was just like, yo, like Biz didn't say anything that was too crazy. Like,
he literally just said the song sounded similar.
He was like, Biz was like, yo, this sounds kind of similar, and the guy just jumped at Biz. I was like, all right, like,
right, but yeah, like that's kind of like my whole thing is like, if you are to take from other artists, at least like recognize the fact that like, they influence you. Like, he's never lied in an interview. He said Cudi's his favorite artist ever. Kanye's his idol. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like this guy is like completely like, and there is an argument to be had about art in general and like taking from other people. I think what Travis does different from someone like Kendrick, like what Kendrick will do is he will take from older sounds and revamp them for his new shit. Whereas Travis is taking from contemporary artists, which is why people have a problem with it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
So it's like more in like the here and now. So it's more you know,
Obvious.
yeah, that's exactly the right word.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I mean, I remember "Humble" sounds very similar to a song that Jimmy Wupu or was Wapo, Wapo had, and who passed away. So like,
but that was really just the beat, to be fair.
That was okay.
The flow isn't all that similar. Kendrick probably never heard that song, but the beat was made by Mike Will made it. But yeah, no, I know what you mean, and like we've talked about it before on here. Like there is a line that you have to toe, and I think that he's getting better with it. And if anything, this album is his most unique sounding.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said before, he's not taking from artists who don't have any agency, right? Or he's not borrowing from artists that don't have agency
that we know of.
I mean, that we know of. But like, I mean, if he's influenced by Cudi makes a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? This person makes a lot of money. It's not like Led Zeppelin back in the day were stealing from black artists who weren't as famous as them or didn't have as much money.
Yeah. White artists too. They stole the riff
Elvis
from
too. I mean,
Elvis. Perfect example.
I mean, the Lemon song off of Led Zeppelin 2 sounds like Howlin' Wolf. You know what I'm saying? So it's like. But at the same time, Travis isn't taking. It's like when people were talking about Bruno Mars, they were saying that 24 Magic was stealing from Prince and stealing from Michael Jackson. Well, it's Prince and Michael Jackson. Like,
yeah, it's like they cultivated a sound that.
Like, okay, sure. Why wouldn't
Sorry,
you?
buddy.
Like, why wouldn't you like? Why wouldn't you copy their style? Like, it's Prince and Michael Jackson. It's not like
I mean, there's a reason The Weeknd exists. He's
right.
literally
It's not
just
like they're no-name artists. You know what I'm saying? Like, Prince is literally the GOAT. Like, so it's I don't get it. So yeah. I will admit, like a lot of the whole like you on the Twitter account, Tro, you posted that 2000 was like 2013 piece. It was Travis Scott is worse than Iggy Azalea. First of all, that's a terrible headline. Like I don't know if people. That's an awful headline.
Oh no, that was 2015. That was after Days Before Rodeo.
Okay, that's 2015. Okay.
Even worse.
Yeah. Look, as like a Travis Scott like skeptic, that's an awful headline though, and like some of the stuff in the piece is clearly done by someone who doesn't like Travis Scott. There are some stuff in the piece that makes sense, like the cadence of Mamacitas does sound like the cadence of Drunk and How Girls. Why he would try to steal the worst Kanye song ever, it's not none of my business. But like, you are right that it is. You were right saying that, like, oh, like this piece has aged well. Yeah, like there's some stuff that people said about Travis that definitely took it too far. I still do think that he sounds like some other people when I listen to him. And when I keep listening to him, I keep thinking, why don't I just listen to these other people? Why aren't these other people on this album? You know what I mean? But I do understand his like creation and like he's definitely a very curator of vibes and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, he's a vibe rapper for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a carnival. I mean, like his concerts are a carnival. He's a performer. I mean, he's a great performer.
Exactly. And I think going back to, like what we've been talking about, like what is Travis Scott's like, what is, well, first off, I think his greatest achievement is making The Weeknd sound listenable in 2018. But
I think you on The Weeknd is like me with like J. Cole. And
I think that what his addition to trap music is that he comes from, his background is that he likes a ton of different genres. Now they happen to align with my taste. Like his ear for electronic production is fucking incredible, dude. Like this guy is, to me, creatively, like I think Kanye might be the only person who does it better with electronic music than he does. Like I think that a lot of guys will just literally just straight up rap over EDM beats. And it works for some guys. Like GoldLink built his career off that. And like, he's got some dope songs. I like some GoldLink shit. But I will say that I think that what Travis Scott does is like, he'll take the bass from an electronic song and add it to like this like trippy trap beat. And I think it's a super unique production style. I know that this might be a hot take, but like, I think right now out of anyone, he has the best production on his albums. Like, I think that every time I get a Travis Scott album, I don't even give a fuck what he's saying, how he's saying it. I just want to listen to the beats. And I think that this guy has fucking incredible production on every album. And also, keep in mind, I like psychedelic shit. I like he's pretty much like the perfect rapper for my taste in terms of production.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
I will admit this. It's more honest than like what Rocky's doing.
On Testing, which was something that we talked about before. Yeah, where you're
Ryan, did you like Testing?
I actually have a bit of a confession to make. I am not a Rocky guy. You know how you like you know, you eat a meal one time, the first time you eat a meal and it's like the worst, you know, it's like made bad or something and you just never eat it again.
Yeah.
I Made in America 2013, A$AP Rocky was supposed to play, you know, it's like an after, you know, he wasn't like super big back then. Supposed to play like in the afternoon, and he came out, he had like a 45-minute set. He came out a half an hour late and literally was like the worst performer I've ever heard in my life. And it's like, I don't know what it is, but like, I just can't do it. And I don't know if it's just like me having like, you know, like fever dreams of that or whatever you want to say, but I just don't do A$AP Rocky and I just do not get along.
Okay, well then you definitely wouldn't like testing.
Okay, then there you go.
I'm envisioning Ryan like in the crowd, like so pissed off about this.
Like
fuck A$AP Rocky.
Before you even knew who he really was.
Yeah, like you. That's a surefire way to lose a potential fan there.
And a lot of people were actually comparing those two, especially on this. Like, I think that they're well. First off, they're both, you know, they both have braids. They've both dated Kardashian, well, Jenner, but Kardashian. They have both take drugs and rap over heavy beats. And sometimes she'll be. But
to be honest, though, with Flacco, I don't even know if he actually is really doing that or is just trying to like fit into a specific type of culture. Because like testing was just trash. It wasn't like as if it was an album that it's meant for psychedelics. You know what I'm saying? It was just bad. Like
yeah, I mean, like this album to me does what testing was trying to do.
But
on a grander scale, like with like more stakes to it. Now I think that album features some of A$AP Rocky's worst production choices, his weirdest creative decisions, and
like
some of his worst rapping.
Yeah, it seems like he's trying to be like a creative director of sorts, just like Travis is currently doing. But he's like really not good at it.
Yeah, he just doesn't. I mean, he is a rapper at the end of the day. Like it's not a slight at him. He's a great rapper, but he has always had someone, as we've mentioned before, he had A$AP Yams to guide his, you know, curate his beats. At least he was involved in the process. And everything he's released since A$AP Yams has died outside of the last album, which A$AP Yams did work on. It has been pretty mid. And I think that Travis being a producer is a huge advantage to him. One of the things that I really, really like on here too is the sequencing on this album, dude.
I was going to bring that up at some point if I didn't. Yeah, go
ahead. It's unbelievable the way that these songs just fucking mesh into each other, and like and they just go like from one to one, and like obviously he changes a lot throughout the songs where you forget that you're listening to the same song, but like if you just listen to I haven't heard sequencing quite like this on an album where like every song just, even if it sounds totally different, it floats perfectly into the next song. Like there was a ton of thought.
The best example I have for that, you know, we've heard Butterfly Effect like, you know, 4 million times since it came out because it came out like more than a year ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But then to go from Who What like with Migos to Butterfly Effect and then into Houston Fornication, which I feel like is like arguably the most like signature Travis sound. When I say you know, like the most like throwback signature Travis sound on the album. Like I feel like the sequence. Yeah, I was definitely gonna bring that up at some point. I feel like the sequencing is, and that's kind of what I was discussing earlier with like the growth that he's shown and just like everything like that. I feel very, very strongly that, you know, and maybe when you tease an album for like, you know, 2.5 years or whatever, you got to get that stuff right. But I think that he definitely did his thing on that.
It's also better than it was on Birds in a Trap. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. And I really enjoyed Birds, but it's not even. I don't even think it's like. I don't even think it's particularly comparable. Also, one thing I wanted to say before I forget, I wanted to bring this up. The song "Can't Say" with Don Toliver. So I listened to that song. I really like it. Right. I love the opening like bridge or the chorus rather. And I'm like, Don Toliver, like what, like you know, I'm not doesn't like ring a bell for me. And I look him up on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, he has like 4,000 followers on Twitter. I was like, okay, so I'm not like crazy, but I really enjoyed that song.
Dude, I thought he killed that shit.
Yeah.
I thought the singing and the rapping, the way that, I mean, the chorus was a little bit ridiculous with, you know, short.
Yeah, it's very like we were talking about earlier with like the Kanye like sex like. But
Shorty
I
licked
mean,
me clean until she sucked me
off.
off.
Yeah. I got 2 hoses in my bed. I got them turning off. Like, but yeah,
I really like that guy. He just signed him to Cactus Jack Records.
I saw that. I think it was I saw that yesterday when I was like kind of, you know, like doing a little research for the pod and stuff like that. Yeah, I like last week when I first listened to it, I'm like, I have no clue who this is. Looked him up, and as I said, he had like 4,000 followers on Twitter, so I didn't like feel bad that it wasn't like someone big that I was missing. And then yeah, I was like thoroughly impressed with that song and his performance.
He released a mixtape last week. I gotta listen to it. It's called Donnie Womack.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll
I'll definitely
check that out.
Definitely have to check that out for sure. That was yeah, I was quite impressed.
Okay, I think that I liked the first half of the album more than the second half, though. And the only reason, because I think that I really like Travis, is his unexpectability and just like the fact that like I never know what I'm going to get from this guy. And on the second half, it was a little bit more predictable, a little bit more chill, a little bit more like the structures of the songs were kind of similar. Like, you know, you would have, I mean, no Travis song is just going to be a straight up pop structure. Like, you're not going to get just like, even outside of like maybe a few songs on Birds in the Trap, like the majority of his music is going to have these very, like, he's not very bound to structure as a lot of other artists are. But I will say that the second half, like, it was just a little bit more like, I don't know, it wasn't phoned in by any means. I just thought that it kind of like lost a little bit of steam down the stretch. Butterfly Effect's still one of my favorite songs on the album. I think my least favorite song on the album was Astro Thunder. I thought that it was just like really laid back and chill to the point where it was like I kind of wanted a little bit more from it. The production on here was ridiculous. Like, it was produced by Thundercat, Travis Scott, John Mayer, and Frank Duke. So I expected it to be like, I read the credits and I was like, oh, this shit is going to be like fucking some like jazzy.
Every single rapper likes John Mayer. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. He's like, yeah. I mean, he's making shit with Mac Miller. He's made shit with Kanye. Like, yeah, I mean, but the thing about this is like I was very excited when I saw the track list, but it's just not one that's going to get a lot of replays for me. It's just way too low. Like, it's very low sounding. When I saw Thundercat and John Mayer, I was like, oh, this shit is going to be jazzy as fuck. This is going to be, this is going to be like some, I don't know, fucking something out there, because they're both really decent when they dabble in that. And it just was kind of disappointing to me, kind of just felt lifeless. I didn't really see the point of it. I will say on the second half, the funniest fucking line in this whole album was 21 Savage.
I literally knew you were going to bring this up.
I nutted on her cheek, call her baby face.
Oh, man, that's so... Like,
wow!
I'm not like a 21 stan, but I do enjoy him.
Honestly, I fuck with Savage. I fuck with 21.
I definitely enjoy him. But if that is like the most signature 21 Savage verse, like, that you could theoretically come up with, like, got so rich I Saint Laurent my dogs now. You know what I mean?
It's like you put a bunch of just 21 lyrics into a generator, like lyrics into a generator, into a 21 Savage generator, and they came out on the other end. No, I mean, I actually think he fits super well on here. I think, honestly, like Jason said it before, like Travis definitely gets outshined a few times on this album. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm a Travis guy, but like, even like, I thought Takeoff killed him on Who What. I thought that Drake probably got a little bit. I still will say I think Travis actually had the better rapping on that. I think that Drake's was a little bit more catchy, which, he's really good at that. Like, he's fucking Drake.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's like his thing, right? Like, he has become the meme rapper. Like, he will create a hook that will stay in your fucking head for days, regardless of whether you like him or not.
They're Instagram captions. You know what I mean? His lines are like Instagram captions now.
Exactly. Half, you know, that Xan
All
line.
I do is like with the young and heartless.
Yep. And I mean, it's the same thing that he did on God's Plan with, you know, I only love my bed and my mama, I'm sorry. You know, he knows what he's doing. I think that a lot of this album is really caught me off guard, as I said before, but I think I don't like it quite as much. I like Rodeo a lot. I think that album is really good. I know Jason hates it. I'm a fan of that album. I'd probably put this a notch below that and a notch above Birds in the Trap. I think Birds in the Trap serves more as a mixtape. Apparently, it was supposed to originally be called Days Before Astro until Quavo had that line on Pick Up the Phone. Like, he was going to do like what he did with Rodeo, Days Before Rodeo, and that makes a lot more sense when I think about it. But to me, like, I think his rapping's improved. I think he's definitely rapping better on here, regardless of whether, you know, I like it all the time. I definitely think his rapping's a little bit better. His vocals he's being a little bit more creative. He's not ripping off people as much as he used to. I really like this album, man. I'm going to put it, I'll probably be in my top 5 favorite of the year, to be honest. I know that of the year. Yeah. I mean, I can't really think of any other albums other than
Kids See Ghosts.
Kids See Ghosts. I really like that album. I really liked Care for Me by Saba. I thought that album was brilliant. And
that one didn't hit me. I don't know why, too.
It's a very depressing album. It's kind of one of those things where when you're in, like, when it was released, it was perfect for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was just
definitely feel that.
I was in that mindset, and it's one of those albums that it takes like a while to like process and get into. It's grown on me even more since it was released. I think it's something that it's not going to click for everyone, but I really, really like that album. Other than that, like, all the albums we've reviewed, I've liked but not loved. Like, I don't think that like there's a ton of albums that I'm like going to be like replaying all the time that we've reviewed, even though I might.
Beast Mode 2 probably edges it out a little bit for me, but I was like a huge fan of that album. But again, I'm you know, I really enjoyed Astro World as well, for sure, obviously.
And
as I've said for the last hour.
So what is your final verdict on this?
On the poll that you posted, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right, that's very consistent with like a lot of what people have saying. It got an 85 on Metacritic too. So
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. You're not like out of bounds or whatever. Yeah.
And that you mentioned that we are now doing a listener review. So if you want to listen and actually have your voice be heard, you know, we're going to send out a poll for every album from now on. The viewers rated it a 7.5 out of 10. That was the average of the album. I think that 8.5 is what I would give it to. I really, like I said, I really dig this album. I think that Travis is getting even more creative than he was before. I think that this will take him to the next level in terms of like crossover appeal. Like, I think you're going to be talking about him for years now. I mean, he was probably already in terms of top rappers out now today. He's probably in the top 15 to 20 in terms of popularity. I think this gets him into the top 10, if not the top 5.
I mean, I think I thought maybe he was already in the top 10 because
I think he probably, yeah.
He's one of the more well talked about artists on the internet, and not that people are always talking about him in terms of gloating, but like he's
polarizing
headlines, right? Yeah. Right. He makes headlines.
Yeah, and the thing is, this album is going to get about almost 400,000 in its first week, which is fucking insane. I mean, his other albums, like, they had hits on them, but like their first weeks were much lower. They were like 60, 70,000. This one's going to get close to 400,000 with streams. I think it got 500 million plays on Spotify. So like, that's
wild.
Yeah, this guy he's jumped a ton of people. He's jumped a lot in terms of popularity. My favorite song on the album, I went back and forth on this because I really like a lot of songs on here, but I just can't deny it. Like, I think that Sicko Mode is one of the most creative, like, best rap songs I've heard all year. I think that that's definitely my favorite on here. And then my least favorite, as I mentioned before, was Astro Thunder. Ryan, what were your favorites and your least favorite? Your favorite and your least favorite?
It's tough to say, but I think that my favorite song on here is actually Stargazing.
Okay, the intro.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think the chorus is awesome, and then we kind of talked about like the, we're going back to like the Kanye, like the heavy like sex like type of deal with like with Kanye, but I feel like he does that on like the second verse, but like in a better way. You know what I mean? Like he go, it ain't a mosh pit if there ain't no injuries. Got him stage diving out the nosebleeds. Hit that booger sugar till she
I love that line.
And then he goes, bounce that shit forever. She on both knees, talking about forever. Got a whole week. Like I think that is like some, it's not the just straight up like I banged this bitch. You know what I mean? It's like that, but it also has that. Talking about forever, got a whole week. Like he doesn't have time for that. You know what I mean? Jumping on my dick, or she keeps dick jumping up. Call me Moby or feel like Moby, whatever he says there.
Did you get that double entendre? Because I got that immediately.
Moby Dick, and then like
Moby's album Play. He's jumping on the cover. Yeah, I thought that was pretty creative.
Yeah, he. I really enjoyed it, and. Least favorite is tough for me to say. I honestly don't know. I feel like least favorite this might be one where like it kind of just depends on my mood. Like you said, Astro Thunder I thought was like, it was it was solid. Yeah, I guess. And No Bystanders, it's catchy and it definitely bangs, but it doesn't like
connect with you.
Yeah, it doesn't like really hit home for me. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So I would say between those two, between like No Bystanders and Astro Thunder, probably. And that's not to say like I hated them, but those two didn't like hit with me in the same way.
Right. No, I know what you mean. And but just one thing before Jason gives his final thoughts, I will say that song is infinitely better driving in a car fast.
Yeah.
So not that I would ever, condone that, but if you are like that song was made to be driven on, listened to on the highway, like the way that it accelerates from part to part. Yeah, I actually didn't like that song at first, but it's grown on me a little bit over the course of these few listens. So, Jason, your final verdict, favorite song, least favorite song, and final rating.
So I'd say my favorite song was a tie. I would go Yosemite. I would go Houston Fornication. So
why'd you like Houston Fornication so much? I'm curious.
I thought the beat was really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
for sure.
This is he sounds the best on this song, I think.
It's a sleepy, druggy banger kind of.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I really do. He sounds the best on this one. I mean, yeah, nobody can press me but the press. Nobody can check me when it's chest. They're coming at my neck like Gillette. I'm hard to catch. That's a butterfly effect. Yeah, I mean, I like it. You know what I mean? I'm starting to see it. Then Yosemite, I would say least favorite, I would probably say 5% Tint.
5% Tint's your least favorite on the whole album?
Really?
Yeah. Either that. Yeah. Yeah.
Just because of the sample?
Just because of the sample, and it's either that or it's Skeletons, because like of the whole obvious Kanye.
Oh. Yeah, but it's Tame Impala, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
but you just can't. Just out of like principle, you can't say that it's.
How that's my thing. Like, just like how are we judging him? You know what I mean? Like, my whole thing is just like, and any other artist, we really wouldn't accept that. But like, I feel like the goalpost move with Travis all the time. It's weird.
I think that's fair, actually. I do think the goalpost moving. Now, one thing that I disagreed with what you said on Twitter was that you said he's Logic with famous friends.
Yeah, I was making a joke, but
yeah, we should have brought that up earlier and got Jason out of here for that earlier. That's really...
I was making jokes, but to be honest, like, people cut out for Logic for stealing Kendrick shit all the time, and then I see Travis stealing flows and doing this, and people are just like, "Oh, Travis, what a vibe maker!" And it's just like, I mean, Logic's a lame-o, so it's a little different. So,
also, his production isn't nearly as good as
Travis.
Travis.
Yeah, no, Logic. Travis is a much better artist than Logic. I mean, I would listen to a Travis album more than Logic 10 times out of 10. But like, it is a question of whether like let's hold these guys to a standard, right? Like if he's trying to take himself seriously, I think he wants to be like known as one of the greatest contemporary artists we have right now.
I think I agree with that. I think that's what he's going for.
Yes, I mean he's not trying to be DJ Khaled, right? He's not trying to only be a creator of vibes. He's seriously trying to be like a very serious artist. So we got to treat him as that.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that all of your I thought we were really going to go at each other's neck on this pod, but I think what we've come to the conclusion is that it's, really depends on your taste, really depends on like
obviously civil people. Like Twitter's a different animal. Like you argue with people on Twitter, Twitter's a different animal.
Yeah,
like
people take music like super personal for some reason.
Yeah. Like you can talk stuff out with people and like on the phone or in person and shit like that. It's a little not. Yeah, we're not out of here going at each other's necks. Like, but like,
listen, 808s and bars, the civil podcast.
We might have one of these days though where we come at each other though.
I think eventually I'm just gonna hate on an album that you really like, and then it's just gonna like bubble up to the point. Actually, but that's not true because like even when I didn't love the Future album, like I saw where you were coming from, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You just gotta for one album, just plan it out. Just go full first take where you just like Jason is X and you are Y.
True. Like Shannon.
So, what is your overall rating on the album, Jason?
I said 6. You know what? Because that you guys kind of, we're gonna go 6.5.
Okay, because you gave Testing a 6, so I was wondering if you were going to give it a higher grade because I was like, this is definitely better than Testing, even though you probably like ASAP a little bit more than Travis, probably a lot more.
Testing a 6?
Yeah.
Can I amend that to like a 4?
Can I amend?
No, because that shit was trash. And the thing about it is, I was being really nice because I was like disappointed. But now I look back at it, and I was like, no, this was garbage. This shit is like actually really bad.
Yeah, I want to amend. We'll amend some scores at the end of the year. We'll do like
cook the books a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna switch it around. But all right, I think that's a good place to end it. Ryan, thank you so much. Listen to Ryan's podcast.
Ryan's podcast is great, guys. Listen to it. Good Takes podcast.
NBA podcast. It's the good. Is that the handle, Ryan? Good Takes NBA Pod.
Yeah, at Good Takes NBA Pod.
Follow that, review, subscribe, all the same shit that you should do for our podcast. Really what you should do. And if you enjoyed this pod, share it with your friends because we're now averaging about 200 listens an episode, which I'm pretty excited about.
Count it up.
The only redeemable song on that. I think that's a good place to end it. Thanks, guys. Peace out. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on. Later, guys.
Later.